Amen to that, sister. I mean, when you get some of these devices that are just like super complicated, you
Mhm.
basically need to be like a neurosurgeon to operate them. No interest. Interesting thing about that. So you're only leaving this on for a half hour day. So this isn't something that you need to leave on from roughly like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay.
No, I pop mine on first thing in the morning. Maybe if it's like a really dark day and I haven't got any daylight and I've got to push through in the afternoon, I might pop it on for a little bit after lunch. So think of it almost as like a better for you coffee.
Sure.
So what it's going to do, it just gives you that little boost. You know, as humans, we are meant to be energized when the sun is out.
So I am so relating to this now. First of all, I'm not ever giving up my morning cup of Joe times two. Just not
Yeah.
going to happen. But I have been trying to propagate plants, and it's the worst time to do it. I started in February because one of my plants was not doing well. I needed to cut it, trim it. I don't want to digress too much. The propagation was not going well. I bought a daylight lamp for my plants, a grow light, and they have been doing so incredibly well. No change in the environment other than the fact that I run this lamp for them. So, they're kind of feeling like it's spring because they're getting that light that they need from, and I,
Exactly.
I keep it on for them like 8 to 8. I'm really,
Good for
they're
your
doing great
babies.
though. I'm like,
So
here you go,
exactly.
babies. So yeah,
Yeah.
so we know that light is really important for life.
Exactly. So, and what I love for me, all of these tools and gadgets, they have to fit into my everyday life. I love to do something that can benefit my health while I'm doing something else. So this doesn't mean that I have to step away from my desk and sit in front of it for hours or do anything. I can just pop it on my desk when I need a little boost, and I really think it's a game changer.
And I'm going to make sure that I take all of your links because I also know that you've got some interesting promotions with some of these brands. So I'm going to make
Yeah.
sure to put those into the show notes.
Yes.
So if you want to see the specific ones that Jennifer's using, I'll make sure to include that. Okay, what's the next thing on your
Okay. So the
list?
next one is this guy here. This is an aura ring. Now, mine is the ugly version.
Okay,
You can get them that look like better jewelry, but I have such small hands that I had to get the most fitted one.
okay. Let me see. Can
So,
you put up close?
so yeah, it's not
Yeah,
very,
I don't think it's
not very
ugly, but I
attractive.
know now they really look like just kind of like a gold ring
They
or a
look like, I
silver
mean,
ring.
they have one that has a collaboration with Gucci. I mean, if they're listening, I'd be happy
Oh,
to wear that one for you. Yes, if you have, I think it's about $2,000.
yeah,
If you want to drop the big bucks on one. But this is most people would consider this a tracking device.
right.
So it tracks my sleep, it tracks my workouts, it tracks my body temperature, it tracks my heart rate variability, it tracks my beats per minute, my heart rate. And I went back and forth on trackers until I used a good one.
Right.
And my thing with any tracking device, and we'll talk about this when we talk about continuous blood glucose monitors as well, they're only helpful if they facilitate behavior change.
Right.
So we would call it in the UK, and here's another one for you: all the gear and no idea.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know exactly what that means because I feel like used to have a closet for every one of these things that I would pick up, and I'd be like, I'm going to buy all this stuff. So I'm going to buy boxing gloves and boxing wraps, and then it'd be like 2 weeks later, it just sits in a
We haven't
closet.
used it either.
So
Exactly. So my thing is only track something if you are willing to change it, because tracking
right,
doesn't change. Tracking doesn't
right.
make any benefits. But if you're willing to change something, if that data gives you that impetus, which for a lot of people it does, then I think it's really helpful. So for me, it was really helpful in the things that my step count, for example.
Right.
Now there's 10,000 steps. It's a bit of an arbitrary number. It's not really based in any kind of health, but it shows us how much we're moving our bodies.
Yes. In New York, so I have an Apple Watch. Now, I will say I've heard amazing things about the Aura Ring. I have not yet taken the plunge because they're not inexpensive.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about the Aura Ring though is I don't wear my watch at night. I know you can, but like, yeah, right. That's what I'm charging it. And I don't want that cumbersome thing on my
Mm.
wrist. With the ring, it's very, I wear my wedding rings at
Yeah.
night. So it seems like a way more user-friendly
Once you've worn
type
it
of
for like a
tracker.
week,
You're
you
fine.
kind of feel weird when you're not wearing it.
Okay.
Now, just like anything, it's not going to be 100% accurate.
Sure.
But we want to look at trends. So we want to
Yes.
look, how is my sleep improving? How is my resting heart rate? How is my heart rate variability? So it helps us identify trends.
Great.
And then it also helps us to know how ready we are the next day.
Oh, what does that mean?
So what that means is it looks at our sleep. So it's going to track our sleep, and we'll know whether we've had that deep sleep, that REM sleep, how restful we were in our sleep, were we tossing and turning, but also by tracking our resting heart rate and our heart rate variability. Those are two measurements that show us how well our body deals with stress, how resilient we are, and then how well we can deal with stress the next day. So if you've had a really great night's sleep and your heart rate variability is higher or high, and your resting blood rate, your resting heart rate is low, you're good to go. You can go and push it in that workout. However, if your resting heart rate is a little bit higher, your body temperature is a little bit higher, and your heart rate variability is lower, this is when your body might be under a little bit more stress, and it might be just like, let's just skip the Peloton and go for a walk.
Wow, interesting. So this kind of can give you some insight, because sometimes I'm like, just push it through. We've talked about exercise so much on this, and
Yeah,
there are days when you're just like, I don't want to do this, but I
right.
I get in there and I do my weights. But interesting, there might be days where you're like, let's take it a little easier because like
Yes.
physically we're just not up to the task.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Okay. Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. The new beauty editors love this device. And I know there's been many iterations of it.
Yeah.
But it's one of the ones that I'm still on the fence about, but I'm gearing more towards the yes, just because I love having that data.
It's so helpful, especially if you're that person that tries to push through.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, it's just a guide. For example, you might sleep badly one night, but you wake up in the morning and you still feel great. Go for it.
Right.
But it just gives us that little bit more data. And for me, my diet's dialed in, that's my job. My fitness is dialed in, that's my job. I'm pretty good at sleeping, just like most of us. My stress management is really challenging.
Mm,
So for me, the variable that I was trying to change on there, the number that I was trying to change, is my heart rate variability, or HRV. And that is a measurement of how well our body responds to stress,
mm.
how
Okay.
resilient we are. Watch out, 2023 buzzword is going to be resilience.
Oh, I like this.
Sure of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So because we all know that we have stress in our lives.
Yes, we do.
And we
Absolutely.
can't take away the stress, but what can we do to mitigate that stress and help our body manage it? So we're going to be seeing a lot more devices that help regulate our nervous system. So that'll be
Okay.
the next thing that we'll be talking about. But heart rate variability, the higher it is, the better your body is able to deal with stress.
Oh, nice. And I'm glad you explained that to us. I would have thought that a high HRV would be like not a good sign, but this is good.
This is good. Yeah. So you want, the lower your resting heart rate, the more healthy you are.
Right.
I'd like to say I'm actually in the athlete category for my age. Just wanted to say a bit proud of
Nice.
myself on that one.
Yes.
But heart rate variability, you want more heart rate variability.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so this is a great device, and I love that you said before we're going to be looking at trends. It's not an exact science,
mhm.
but certainly going back to my Apple Watch, some days it'll be like you walked 20,000 steps, and then there are days where it's like you walked 1,000, and I'm like, oh dear God,
Right.
get up. And at least it's
Oh, you
buzzing
need
at
to
me
do
like every couple hours to stand up. So yes, using these devices is important, as you said, if you're going to use it to make a change. What's third on your list?
Okay, so we were talking about tracking.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about external, we've talked about wearables. Now, the next one we'll talk about is the continuous blood glucose monitor.
This is so freaking cool. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I was looking into this. This seems really cool.
So this is, when we're talking about accuracy,
Yeah.
this is pretty accurate. Now, when I work with my clients, we do a ton of lab testing because I always say, test, don't guess. Your blood doesn't lie.
Right.
So what a continuous blood glucose monitor does, or you'll see them called CGMs, is that they actually insert a sensor into your skin. Sounds painful, it's really not.
Right.
And that is constantly monitoring your blood glucose or your blood sugar. And so it feedback, so you insert it into your arm, it's not painful at all. And it's tiny, it's about this
Right.
big. Then you put a little patch over it. If you've ever had that kind of kinesiology tape, It's one of those patches, goes over the arm. Once it's on there, you don't really think about it.